Fireworks City in Baldwin, Wisconsin. And now they have exciting news. Free Stuff is back with a $200 or more purchase. But that's not all. They're bringing back their incredible get 3 for 1 low price deal on all multi-shot cakes. Stock up on these incredible multi-shot cakes and get 3 for the price of 1. At Fireworks City, we're your one-stop shop for all your firework needs. Located just 25 minutes from St. Paul, it's worth a short drive on I-94 to exit 19. And here's the best part. Buy one, get one for 99 cents on every firework. Don't just take their word for it. See all the fireworks in action on one of their many TVs. Experience the excitement firsthand and make an informed choice. Bring your family and friends and head over to Fireworks City in Baldwin, Wisconsin. Exit 19 off Interstate 94. Fireworks City guarantees a fun and family-friendly atmosphere. The best deal on fireworks is waiting for you. Buy one, get one for 99 cents.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hey, it's Patrick. While you and your family are ready for summer, make sure your home is ready for summer too. There are going to be a lot of people over at your house for those barbecues and graduation parties in June, so make sure to check in with my friends at Zero Res to make sure your floors are in tip-top shape. And now that summer is finally here, it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the year. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, basically every surface in your home can be Zero Resified, so it's time to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res. It's also the perfect time of year to get your air ducts and your dryer vent cleaned too. You've waited and now you save. Book now and take advantage of the summer sale and get 20% off all services. Schedule your appointment by calling 9520-RES or going to zeroresminnesota.com and asking for the AM 950 special. Backward or forward spells the same. Zero Res.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 70, Thursday sunny with a high near 91, and Friday a chance for thunderstorms with a high of 89. Take your meals to the next level with Vinaigrette's premium oils and vinegars. They have a huge selection, so you'll never run out of options. Vinaigrette is the perfect choice for anyone who loves quality ingredients. Located in Minneapolis on 50th and Xerxes or at vinaigrettemn.com. Elevate your cooking game with Vinaigrette.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hit me cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. And we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You're right, Jaga. This episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count. Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focused on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life.
Yeah, for more information, you can visit littlemomentscount.org. We're excited to have these episodes here. We're partnershipping with Little Moments Count. And today we have a guest, Dr. Zimmerman, and Marilyn Zimmerman is the co-principal investigator and senior director of policy and programs at the National Native Children's Trauma Center. That's NNCTC. She's also a former tribal senior policy advisor at OJJDP, which is the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Welcome, Dr. Zimmerman.
Thank you. I'm working very hard in settings trying to unblur my camera, and I apologize. I can't seem to do it. I am obviously technically challenged.
Well, that's all right. We're mostly a radio show, so
Okay, good. Good.
it's awesome to have you on, and people can see you. We get a couple, 300-400 people watching us in time, and so it's exciting to have you. I want you to jump right into this because we only have a couple segments with you, and time's a waste. And so, can you tell us about your experience in researching and developing a culturally relevant and evidence-based childhood trauma, suicide, violence prevention services for American Indians and Alaskan Native populations? I know that's a mouthful, but wow, there is so much deep trauma in our families and our generations before us that affect everybody. How tell us your experience on this.
Sure. So I think so many of us growing up on our reservations and raising our children on our reservations, we think about, as one of the chiefs on my reservation would say, why are we like that? Why do we treat each other like that? How come we're mean to each other, or those kinds of questions? And it really is about thinking about knowing that we have rich cultural histories and rich cultural we're steeped in our culture, in our communities. Many speak their language. We know we have wholesome households and wholesome families and communities a lot, but we also know that a lot of our relatives struggle with addiction issues. They struggle with violence. They struggle with suicidal thoughts, depression, and anxiety disorders. And so what are the possible origins of all of this? And I think with the adverse childhood experiences study that came out in the late 90s and the Twin Towers falling during 9/11, the national conversation was looking at the well-being of Americans, and not just of adults, but of children who had been exposed to a terrorist attack, who had been exposed to domestic violence in their household, who'd been exposed to bullying, or sexual abuse. So we began to look at what is the impact of adverse childhood experiences on our well-being as Native people today. And including in that is a conversation about historical and intergenerational trauma. And so taking a look at that, okay, now I've worked with tribes for 25 years, and we know tribes would always say to us and to federal funders, we know what we need to do to heal. Let us do what we know to do. We know that our ceremonies bring healing. We know that our sacred songs and our plant ways and food ways bring healing. Let us do that. Fund us to do those kinds of things. And so that is really marrying that with the evidence-based trauma treatment models that already existed. And we know that trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy is the gold standard of trauma treatment models in this country. How do you take that Western world, a westernized evidence-based treatment model, and how do you tweak it or adapt it to better serve an American Indian population or Alaska Native population? And that's kind of the work that we're doing. And thinking about how we talk about trauma in our communities, thinking about how we talk about healing, thinking about how we infuse story into our healing ways, and the way that we create community together has been a big piece of the conversation, sort of marrying the evidence-based trauma treatment with local cultural ways.
I've noticed in my 62 years being around family members and relatives that a lot of this trauma comes out as anxiety. I've noticed that, and I've even noticed that in my children at times, and I'm sure I've acted anxious over the years. But do you find that because that turns into a lot of other things? I think anxiety can be totally shut down, or anxious people can be violent or mean. Have you noticed that, Doctor?
Well, so one of the things that we know for sure about adverse experiences and we don't receive any healing is that we often engage in very unhelpful ways of coping. So we know through the ACEs study that using substances can help us reduce anxiety, but also help us cope with our trauma memories or the trauma reminders that we have every day. Smoking cigarettes, IV drug use, suicidal thoughts, all of those are survival strategies that we have engaged in, overeating, that have helped soothe us when we have had those trauma reminders. So it can look like anxiety, it can look like ADHD or ADD, it can look like these other sort of disorders that are really founded in our trauma, and the behaviors are challenging because as we grow and we're in situations where we don't need to protect ourselves, where we're in safe environments, where we're seeking services from a primary care provider, a mental health provider, a substance use provider, and we have those trauma reminders, we can behave in ways that are really unhelpful. Like we can get big and scream and yell and either demand services now or disengage from services. And those are all strategies of survival for people with trauma histories.
Oh, right on. And from your research work, what are some of the biggest challenges facing Native families and children currently? And I know there's urban in Twin Cities here. We have the largest urban population of Native Americans across the country, and we also have a high percentage of our urban natives live off reservation. What are some of the challenges that you face in this research in your work?
Well, gosh, there's many. There's many. So even in urban settings, access to services is a huge barrier for folks to get services. How we think and talk about trauma. I know that when I first started, I had tribal judges saying, "Oh, Marilyn, these kids are used to witnessing all this violence, or they're used to being bullied. So we don't have to worry about that." And it's not true. Just coming to the belief that the way that many of our families engage in relationship is unhealthy, and it is traumatizing to the next generation. And so we have to be really cognizant. That's the hugest barrier. And the other is just how are we thinking about and how are we treating it in a way that is supportive of Indigenous spiritual and cultural ways.
Well, hey, we're here with Dr. Zimmerman, and it's our Little Moments Count a show today, and we're going to have Bob Blake from Red Lake with the Solar Bear with the Solar News on later. But we are with Dr. Zimmerman, co-principal investigator, senior director of policy programs at the National Native Children's Trauma Center. Wow, this is a lot to talk about. Really appreciate you being on, and we're going to be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Life is a journey, and the Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas will help you get where you want to go. Located in downtown Minneapolis, this affordable 2-year college provides free textbooks, a laptop, meals, career coaches, and a Metro Transit pass, making DFC the perfect pathway to a bachelor's degree. Turn your dreams into reality at Doherty Family College at the University of St. Thomas. Apply today at dfc.stthomas.edu.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This episode of Native Roots Radio is presented in partnership with Little Moments Count.
Hey, Little Moments Count is a statewide collaborative focusing on helping parents and caregivers learn about the importance of brain development in the first 3 years of life. Hey, you can also get more information from littlemoments.org. That's littlemomentscount.org. And we are here with Dr. Marilyn Zimmerman, and we're talking, boy, I wish we had a whole 2 hours to talk about this. Seriously, this is like... we're unpacking a huge onion with many, many layers of our relatives. I really appreciate you being on, and we might have to reach out again real soon. You know, we're talking about trauma and how it comes out on Native people. And, you know, Dr. Zimmerman, I just have to say, I feel like my family in particular has lost a few generations, whether it's boarding schools, the movement of Native Americans off the res. And I feel like my kids' generation and their kids' generation is picking up the ball that my generation has dropped. So it's exciting to talk about this, and it all has to do with each other. I mean, who we are and who we aren't. And so I really appreciate your work. And, what are some of the interventions that we can do in this training program that you developed and adapted in this childhood trauma?
Sure.
Again, this is like a lot to unwrap.
Right. I think we all know now and accept now as in the world that there are many pathways to healing, that there isn't just one pathway to heal from anything. So just knowing and it really encouraging that local cultural and spiritual ways are embedded in programming for kids or for adults. So that if, for instance, I'm Dakota and Nakona, and we have sweat lodge ceremonies. It's a cleansing ceremony. It's a ceremony to pray for healing, all of that. Incorporating that, if you practice that, we encourage that a lot. It's where a lot of children and adolescents and adults who have never learned their language they learn the sacred songs, and that gives them the language, right? So that's a big piece of the conversation, but also not sneering at what is known as Western evidence-based treatment models that can have their usefulness with tribal people. So, reframing, cognitive behavioral therapy is about reframing the problem, building some resilience, thought stopping, self-care exercises like learning meditation. And maybe that's, in the sweat lodge situation or Sundance situation, learning positive language and thoughts, how to steep into those, taking good care, good sleep hygiene, good, not drinking too much alcohol, not eating too much food. That's where all of those are facets of healing that are available. But the trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy is really kind of interesting because it's very much about thinking, and trauma survivors can think all day. We don't feel very easily, right? We have a very limited vocabulary for our feelings. We're angry, or we're happy, or we're sad, but we don't know how to say, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed, I have anxiety, I'm anxious about this meeting this afternoon. So we have to learn how to have those feelings and heal enough to be able to feel the feelings. And that takes a lot of support from people that care about us and love us and the professionals that work with us. And for kids, we're now learning that positive childhood experiences can go a long way in building the resilience of children and adolescents. So those after-school programmings, basketball teams, drum making, whatever it is, those positive childhood experiences can really help build resilience and offset some of the traumatic experiences that they may have. Good parenting is another way to provide opportunities for support and healing. Learning to be a good relative to each other, treating each other with respect, and honoring one another, giving preference to one another. Those are all aspects of healing. So there's not one way, and that's how we try to think about it at the trauma center, is just how do we infuse all of this, but give opportunity to, we can teach you how to do cognitive behavioral intervention for trauma in schools. We can teach you to do bounce back in the classroom. We can teach you to do the attachment, self-regulation, and competency modules to better support your clients or your students or your patients. But then again, how do you enter this world through a cultural way of being or a spiritual way of being? That's the big focus for Indigenous people.
Wow, and it is too. And you were saying early on that we can't poo-hoo the modern medicine too, because I went through treatment 38 years ago, and I'm still sober. And treatment's discovering. I think our medicines and our way of life, and maybe some AA thrown in there, can really maintain and help you grow and heal.
Right. Yes. And just like we can't say to someone, oh gosh, that happened to me, you'll get over it. We can't say to another one, well, this is the only way you're going to find healing, is if you do it my way or this way or that way.
That's exactly right. We only got a little bit left, more time, and we would really like to reach out and have a whole show on this. As a tribal senior policy advisor, how do you contribute to the resolution of complex problems or issues impacting DOJ, American Indian, and Alaskan programs? And you can tell I didn't write that commercial or that question because that's big words in it. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting because the Department of Justice, the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention, they've got some really good program managers and directors, and the administrator's fabulous woman, Lisa Ryan. But, they don't know what they don't know about tribes. And so senior policy advising is really, really talking to them about consultation and the need for it, hearing from the tribes themselves, not overlaying what you think they need with what they actually need, being cognizant of tribal cultural ways, being cognizant of how to engage in respectful and thoughtful relationships with tribes. What does that look like? How do we practice that? And looking at authentic history and really looking at the history of the federal government's policies against tribal people and against tribes that are responsible for our current state of unwell-being, not being whole as communities and families. So taking on the responsibility, it might not be your generation that did it, but you have to own the history of the agency that you represent.
Oh, wow, exactly. We only got a minute or so. I want to, we're here with Dr. Marilyn Zimmerman, who's the co-principal investigator and senior director of policy and programs at the National Native Children's Trauma Center. I want to leave the floor with you and be able to have you speak on anything you'd like in this last minute and a half or so.
Okay. Whoa. Should have been ready for that one. Let's see. Just know this, that trauma is preventable, and that it's preventable by making sure that our schools and our tribal programs all have policies that are supportive of families, that are supportive of our relatives, that's supportive of healing. That's an important piece of the conversation. It's preventable. The other is that we can heal from trauma. And as we were talking about earlier, and you find your healing wherever you find your healing. We happen to believe that there are some really good strategies and really good treatment models out there that include evidence-based trauma treatment models. We also believe spirituality and culture is healing. And we also know that it asks the right questions. I don't know about you, but my grandma used to shake her finger at some of my relatives and she would say, "What's wrong with you? Sober up and get your kids back. What's wrong with you? Stop treating that woman violently and go get your family back together." You know, and instead of asking what's wrong with you, we've learned to say, what's happened to you? But not just what's happened to you, because we all make meaning of an event differently. So that the three of us could be in a car wreck and we're all going to walk away from that car wreck alive, maybe not even injured, but we will make meaning out of how that happened and what happened to us. And that's the big takeaway for trauma, is that it's the meaning that we make of those kinds of events in our lives. But that the hope is that we can heal, and also the hope is that we can prevent traumatic experiences like bullying or violence in our communities.
Wow, Dr. Zimmerman, P. Ngigi, thank you so much. This is enlightening, and you look really sacred too, I want to say. But we appreciate you stopping in, and we're going to reach out again and do a whole show with you. This is great information, and appreciate you stopping in and talking about this really, really important subject.
Thank you. I'm humbled to be asked. Thank you.
Ho. Hey, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. Up next, Bob Blake from Red Lake. I just love saying that, with the Solar Bear with the Solar News.
Stay with us.
Hey, this is Robert Pilot. I taught in St. Paul Public Schools for over 25 years, and I want you to join the team and make a difference in our children's future. Right now, St. Paul Public Schools is offering hiring and retention bonuses up to $10,000 for a variety of teaching and classroom support positions for the next school year. Grow in a supportive and fulfilling public school setting. Limited bonuses are available, so don't delay. Apply at spps.org/careers.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
When it comes to mental health, connections with others can be a way forward. How do you reach out when you need someone? What do you do to support those who struggle? Whether you're struggling or know someone who struggles, see connections as comfort, hope, and joy, like sending a text, sharing a moment, offering a hug, seeing an old friend, seeing your grandma. Together we can find ways to create a path forward. Visit cmentalhealth.org. Visit cmentalhealth.org.
At Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, we have wood stoves that qualify for the new 30% income tax credit. A great opportunity to get an efficient stove and heat with renewable energy.
Right now, avoid supply chain delays, avoid the fall rush, avoid bad weather installation, and save money because we are now discounting the price on all chimney parts you need for installation for any of Woodland's new stoves and fireplaces.
We can help you with the stove and the chimney planning. Want to do it yourself? We will help you determine all the parts needed with our installation know-how. We have been installing wood stoves and fireplaces for over 45 years.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood, gas, and electric units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. Save money. Take advantage of the spring and summer chimney discounts when you buy any fireplace product right now at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 70, Thursday sunny with a high near 91, and Friday a chance for thunderstorms with a high of 89.
If you've been waiting to replace those appliances, don't miss Warner Stellian's lowest prices of the season. Score instant savings, then up to 10% off, and a bonus for each additional appliance you buy. Put us to the test at warnerstellian.com.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, we're here with Robert Blake of the Solar Bear with the Solar News. We haven't seen Bob in a few weeks here, and it's really exciting. I kind of like how you got the lighting there at your place too, Bob. It's kind of like Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now, you know.
Marilyn Brando in Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
I love it, Robert. You know,
hey, great. Go ahead.
I was going to say, man, he was a really interesting type dude, wasn't he?
Absolutely. He was the greatest actor of his generation. And also he, as you know, with the Academy Award and for The Godfather Part 1, he did not take his Academy Award because of the treatment of Native Americans across this country. And he has a great interview on the Dick Cavett show that you can find on YouTube. That's very amazing and enlightening. And he also, he helped out AIM in a bunch of ways. And I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to misquote myself, but he paid for some housing and some land and things like that for the American Indian movement, especially when they first started out. But in the late 60s, early 70s, he was there for our people.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, and I think that that was when he had that woman who accepted or who went up and didn't accept the award, right? And people like John Wayne were like bashing her just because she was speaking her truth. And that was, I mean, you look back at that now, you just think how backwards the Duke was. But
John Wayne's teeth.
John Wayne's. But I think we already knew that.
Yeah. He definitely didn't like Native Americans, and he proved it in every movie. In John Ford, there was a documentary, Bob, that came out, Real Indians, about 2009, that really talked about how these early movies, these John Wayne movies, but really in particular, with the John Ford movies, really messed up Native Americans and made us like dinosaurs and all one person. And, I was just going to say, there's 574 recognized tribes and 229 of them are in Alaska. And, there's over 300 languages. You can't put us all in one little movie and make us all one kind of tribe or people. We were so diverse in so many different ways.
Well, you know what, Robert? I think that's a perfect segue into the Solar News with the Solar Bear, because you're just giving out all that great information. And basically, you're just saying you can't stop the Native voice. And look at this program. You know what I mean? You just can't stop it. And I want to throw some statistics at you, Robert, because you got me on the statistic thing right now. Okay, 4.5 million solar energy systems have been installed across Turtle Island. Let's go with that right there. I'm not going to say United States, but across Turtle Island. This is equivalent to 169 million metric tons annually that we're taking greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. This is 38 million vehicles off the road, 19 billion gallons of gas being not used. So oil, right? Like gas, that you fill up your car. 2.8 billion trees being planted. Okay. And this is the equivalent to also shuttering 45 coal-fired plants right now. This is what we've done in this country here on Turtle Island over the last like 10 years here. This is the equivalent to all this. Now I wanted to also one more thing here I want to throw at you, Robert. And this is also 26, this is enough energy that we are producing with solar power right now to power 26 million households. Listen, Robert, this is happening. And I want to, we've been talking about this for a long time, but this is going to literally double, maybe triple, over the next 10 years because of the wonderful legislation that we had come out from the Inflation Reduction Act. That is incredible.
Robert, too, I put up a article that I saw today in the Tribal Business News about the Northern California tribes that are setting paths for sovereignty with a large-scale solar storage microgrid project. I mean, you've been talking about things like that for 2 years here on Native Roots Radio, and it seems like it's happening now. And they were able to these tribes in California, Northern California, pay for everything with grants, and that's out there for us. And so you and I need to talk about my nation too as soon as possible, because there's things out there, as you were just mentioning, that are there for the picking and really in a good way for our Native communities.
Yeah, and what is really cool about this, because I'm looking at it right now, Robert, that one of the tax attorney for this, right, is a good friend of mine, and she helped put that whole deal together there. And I just saw her at the Affiliated Tribes event, renewable energy event out in Seattle last week. And they were presenting on this. They were talking about this at the conference. And so it was really cool to see those guys. The Nez Perce has got an incredible project that they're doing. So we are going to bring them into we're going to bring those experts into the planning that we're going to do for your tribe too. So
yeah,
yep, we're on it, Bal. We're on it.
I know. And then all the great things you're doing, you're working with Prairie Island. I don't know how much you can talk about that, but up in Red Lake, there's solar panels.
Yeah. We had a great day. We had a great day today down in Prairie Island. We had a lot of good conversations happening with the community today. I want to send a special shout out to Miss Jefferson, Miss Tina Jefferson of the Prairie Island Indian community. She has just been remarkable and so supportive, and has really stepped up as a community member out there to really lead the way out there. And then we just had a good graduating class of solar trainees up in Red Lake. They just installed a 30 kilowatt system on top of the OG Center up in Red Lake. And we are going to, Robert, we are going to be starting the planning now and in the installation of the EV charging networks from Red Lake to Standing Rock back around into Minnesota and into your nation and into Wisconsin and into Michigan. And also thank you for that letter of support, Robert. That really helped us out too with us getting that grant too.
Well, yeah, and what I've always liked about you, Robert, but especially in your work, is how you've been open to all tribes' needs across Turtle Island and helping. And I've seen it in person, but I've also seen it as a politician too. That you come in with your hands ready to help and help and with all the knowledge because I'm not an expert. The only thing I know is what Bob Blake says on Native Roots Radio, and that's that's the old joke. I taught you everything you know, but not everything I know.
Well, you know what, Robert? I mean, it's you opening those doors for me, allowing me to have my voice be heard, and people listening. And I can't thank you enough. For the support and you always told me to speak my truth, and you tell everybody that comes on your radio show to speak their truth. And we are so lucky and so fortunate to have you, and to also have the space where we can talk about the things that are important to us. That previous lady you had on the program, that was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you're giving us a voice, Robert, and I think that's wonderful. And just you're incredible leader in the community, and just appreciate you so much.
Well, likewise, Bob. Just think, I was your key grip, or you were my key grip, just 5 years ago down in Iowa for the. I just got to say this too. We're all over Wisconsin, and I had the privilege to be the MC to Wisconsin's Democratic Convention a couple weekends ago, and we have a big listening audience out in Wisconsin too that are really had a lot of people come up to me and talk to me about that. So we're all doing good, and I'm just a conduit to great guests and knowledge people like yourself. So I feel privileged to sit in this seat.
And I also want to say too, where a Solar Bear is getting asked to do some projects over in Wisconsin, so I'm really excited to move some of our work over there. And then I also want to say real quickly, Robert, before we go, 15% of the U.S. homes will by 2030, 15% of all homes across the Turtle Island will have solar, and during 2022, every 44 seconds there was a new solar project installed across Turtle Island. And last thing, I want to say hello to my niece, Alexia Guzman, who is visiting us from Oakland, California with their father, Joey Guzman. And so glad that they're here, staying here in the Twin Cities with us and taking in everything. So, miigwech.
Hey, Bob, and one thing I got to say before we let you go here. I'm so excited about liquid hydrogen batteries that they're talking about those, and those are coming around the bend very soon here. So that excites the heck out of me.
Oh, I want to do, we're going to talk about this on the Solar News and the Solar Bear in the future. There's a lot of stuff happening with hydrogen, and I am talking to these people and working with them right now. So it's really exciting how all of this is going to be coming to fruition, Robert, and especially for Native country. There's a lot of opportunities for tribal nations to be a part of this. This is really incredible opportunity here.
Absolutely. Hey, Bob, why don't you give your Facebook page and your website address to everyone so they can jump on and see who you are.
Yeah, www.solarbear.earth, www.nativesun.org. And like the Solar Bear says with the Solar News, remember to everybody to keep on solaring on.
Right on. Hey, that was Bob Blake from Red Lake. Really appreciate you, man. We'll be talking to you very soon, within a day or so on the phone. This is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be back after this short break.
Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Your Blue Line Extension project wants to hear from you. We are working on extending the Blue Line light rail into North Minneapolis, Robbinsdale, Crystal, and Brooklyn Park and connecting it to our growing transit system. Tell us about your neighborhood, your business, your family, and what you need from your Blue Line. Learn more and share more of your story at yourblueline.org. That's yourblueline.org.
Now is the perfect time to prepare for summer reading, and Next Chapter Booksellers can help. Not sure what to get? The friendly staff at Next Chapter Booksellers are great at making recommendations to find books that fit your taste. Next Chapter Booksellers also hosts many book readings and meet and greets with authors, and they sell a wide variety of puzzles and games too. So stop by the store off Snelling and Grand in St. Paul or place an order online at nextchapterbooksellers.com.
You hear a lot about Rudy Luther Toyota's hybrid cars, but maybe you're asking yourself, are they worth it? Let me say from experience, absolutely. I have a Toyota Sienna hybrid, and the proof is in the gas tank. Before my hybrid, I was filling up my tank once a week. Now it's consistently every 2 weeks. I did the math, and my hybrid is saving me over $1,000 every year. And the Toyota hybrids are some of the most stylish and comfortable vehicles you'll ever drive. Now's the time to get a Toyota hybrid. Set up a time to test drive one today at Rudy Luther Toyota, the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
This is Leonard Peltier. I am in Coleman 1 U.S. Penitentiary, and I'm listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awakened. This is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Woo!
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah. Hey, that was what a unbelievable show.
I
Haley.
know.
This is, and then it's always good to see our friend Bob Blake from Red Lake. I can't stop saying that, I know, but he's been just leading the way in the solar energies community here in the natives and helping many tribes succeed in their own sovereignty with their own power, and you can't say enough. I got a few fun facts here. I'm kind of taking Wendy's thunder a little bit here, but I'm going to have some fun facts here about Native Americans, and I'm going to read a couple here, and we'll discuss them here at the end of the show here, and I think they're kind of fun just to talk about. One of them, Haley, is the Navajo Nation has the largest tribal land in the United States, and it's almost 25,000 square miles, and it's the size of West Virginia and twice as large as Maryland. The nation extends into Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in 2021, the Navajo Nation also surpassed the Cherokee Nation to become the largest tribe by population, too, with nearly 400,000 registered members. And
How
as
many?
you might expect, 400,000.
Wow.
And as you might expect, now Navajo has the most speakers of any Native American language. So with those numbers, but
Mhm.
400,000 people. And I know during COVID, it was really crazy what was going on down in Navajo Nation, which is large, but there was a lot of parts of their tribes and their nations didn't have running water. And it was really sad to hear a lot of the problems that were happening there, and especially, Haley, when COVID first started, there was no vaccine, and people were talking about washing their hands all the time. And when you don't have running water, just a basic thing of washing your hands and keeping them clean, were not available to our brothers down there in Navajo. A lot of brothers and sisters down there in Navajo Nation.
Yeah, I mean, water is essential. We need water for many things. And yeah, I would say that's not the best thing to have going on, especially during COVID, but
Another fun fact here is that there are around 326 tribal land areas in the United States compared to the 574 federally recognized tribes. So, in other words, there's a couple hundred that don't have recognized land. Of the tribes that do not have land, it is on average only about 2% as large as territories they occupy before colonization. So, in other words, I read that kind of funky, but before colonization, we don't, with 100% of the land as being native land, now it's only 2.6%. And many of the tribes who were forcibly relocated by the United States government were left without any land of their own. And we have our own land story here in Ho Chunk, which we'll get into someday, but it's very interesting. And then our relatives that are in Nebraska, the Winnebagos, which are our Ho Chunks, they have a reservation that was part of the land was given to them by the Utah Indians down there, and out of just helping them out. So there's all these things that we're still here. That's why I like reading this, Haley, is we're still here and we're not dinosaurs. We live amongst you. We're lawyers, we're teachers, bus drivers, carpenters, so we're still here. And I just love having the show and talk about not only resilience of Native Americans, but also the resilience and the success stories of Native Americans, Haley.
Right. And then, so Nina here said on Facebook, Navajo Nation doesn't have running water even without COVID in some areas.
Right. And I might have misspoke. I meant to say that they didn't have running water during the beginning of COVID, and Nina's saying they still don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine that.
Yeah. And
especially with how hot it gets down there. Can you imagine?
With global warming, it's 92 here.
That's true. But we have so many lakes, and rivers and.
Right. Well, and we're in a drought again, Haley. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but the river's low. I go, as you probably know, I go down to the river every day for a walk, and the Mississippi, and it was really high because we had all that snow, but we haven't had any precipitation in 2 months, really.
Yeah, I know. I was just down at the St. Croix River too, which divides Minnesota and Wisconsin state line, and the St. Croix River was pretty low too, which is sad.
Yeah, well, and it's water is life, and we need water, and we need clean, fresh water, which the Mississippi and the St. Croix and a lot of lakes and rivers in Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, but really closer to 15,000. We have to protect our lakes, and when there's lack of oxygen in these lakes, our fish die, and
the
whole ecosystem goes down, Haley.
I know. But hopefully we get some rain soon. That's all we can hope for. But we've got just a little reminder. We've got the New Native Theater is having their second annual powwow, which is actually going to be happening this week, June 24th, and that'll be at South High School in Minneapolis, which will be 3131 19th Avenue is where that's at. And that'll be all day. That'll be their Reclaiming Our Identities Two-Spirit powwow.
Right, and we always talk about the two spirits, Haley, here on Native Roots Radio, and when the bad guys, so to speak, were coming and taking over our lands, the first people they killed were the medicine man and the two spirits, because the two spirits were so important to our tribes, because they could do the jobs of both sexes, and also, of course, the medicine men were the powerful teachers and healers. So that makes total sense. But that's awesome. New Native Theater this is the second annual one, and they're putting that on, and that's right on to those guys over there. And I'll be there. Maybe doing a rain dance. Oh,
there you go. Potato dance. I think they were doing. You need a partner for that.
No, I was going to do the rain dance, get some rain out there.
Oh, yeah, that's needed too.
I need a flatter forehead to do the potato dance, and Wendy and I got to practice it. So We got to
Yeah.
find a flat potato, and people don't know what we're talking about. It's you put a potato between each other's head, and you dance, and you listen to the MC, and they tell you to do all these things, and hopefully the potato. You know who's really good at the potato dance for a couple years is our frequent guest in Misco. Her and whatever partner she gets. They do the potato dance really well, and she's won a lot of money over the years. So, what a great show! And we really need to get the doctor on again because that was an amazing conversation, Haley.
Yeah, we'll reach out and we'll talk more about how we can, as natives, can heal through our culture and heal our trauma, because that's very important to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we're all going through it in one way or another. So, hey, I wanted to say, if you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance. From Chief Plenty Coops, the ground in which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office, and vote. We're still here. We are the seventh generation.
Free Leonard Peltier now.